One thing that I found very interesting, and I actually wanted to make a video about this for a long time, was the reaction of David Mason when Alex Mason was captured by Raul Menendez. That was something that I really wanted to explore in a video, and I just wasn't able to for a really long time for many different reasons. I just wasn't able to find the time or crack the video the way that I wanted to. But what I wanted to do was create a storyboard of what led to Alex Mason being captured. We know in Black Ops 2 how he gets captured. We know that Raul Menendez is able to get Jason Hudson. He's able to get David Mason and use them as leverage, especially use David Mason as leverage to trap Alex Mason, get him to give up his weapons, allow himself to be tied up, allowed himself to be put in a different clothes and a bag over his head, and allowed to be carried to the sniper position where Woods would eventually fire the shot. All of that happened because David Mason was captured. All of that happened was because David Mason was used as leverage. And I always wanted to explore that because we get to hear stories about it, and we were there kind of living it, but we were on the opposite side. We were on the outside looking in. And I always wanted to dive into the intricacies, into the inside. What could that conversation have been like? What I'm trying to get at is how Alex Mason reacted when he saw his son. How did his son react when he saw his father? What was their last interaction like? What was that last look that they had at each other? What was the last thing that Alex Mason told his son before getting taken away? What did Raul Menendez tell Alex Mason? What conversation did they have? What kind of fight did they have? What kind of arguments was there? How did Raul Menendez taunt Alex Mason there in that moment? So much to explore, so much to look into, and you can really dive into the psyche of the characters if you're able to see that scene. I felt like that scene was something I always wanted to know more about. And with Black Ops 7 coming out, there's a big chance that that scene could be explored, and I wanted to maybe talk about the possibilities of that happening. We know that in the campaign, David Mason is still reeling from the events that occurred in 2025 with Raul Menendez. Apparently, he is feeling guilty. Did he make the right choices? And that day, that Raul Menendez shadow is still creeping on him. It's still holding him down. It's still affecting him 10 years later. Well, now David Mason is 56 years old. He's older. He is once again finding himself fighting the ghost of Raul Menendez, fighting the guild, being stuck in a world that maybe he doesn't fully understand anymore. And so this new threat of Raul Menendez comes, and then the guild kind of rise, and so he takes his team to try to stop that. We know from the reveal trailer, we know from the Call of Duty Direct for Black Ops 7 that David Mason and his team basically get captured sometime in the beginning of the game. They go into the guild, they get trapped inside of a room, the Cradle 2.0 gas drops, and it makes their most crazy, bad, worst memories come to life. And they're kind of reliving so many things that happened to them in their past. They're kind of reliving what happened to them maybe when they were a kid, maybe the 2025 Battle of Los Angeles. They're reliving all of these different things, and it's going to affect all of our characters differently. But David Mason is going to be one of the characters that we're going to be going through his memories and through his emotions. And I think this could be the perfect time to explore the inner thinking of David Mason, explore some of his darkest hidden secrets. I think this is the time to do it because you can kind of go back in time and show us things, show the audience things, stuff that they never saw before. In the trailer for Call of Duty Black Ops 7, we get to see Raul Menendez, we get to see Alex Mason, we get to see David Mason, and we get to see a young David Mason running. And he's wearing the same clothes that he was wearing the day that his father got shot, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that could just be Call of Duty reusing the assets so we can connect in our minds, oh yeah, that's David Mason, and kind of just make it make sense the same way that David Mason in 2035 is still wearing the same jacket, the same outfit that he wore 10 years earlier. And maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, why change his outfit if that's how we associate the character with? So it could just be for that reason. But I think that showing young David Mason is deliberate. I think that might play a crucial part in the story. We might do a whole mission or half of a mission as a young David Mason, maybe trying to run away from Raul Menendez, maybe getting captured by Raul Menendez and seeing how Jason Hudson is there talking to Menendez, how Menendez kind of setting up the plan, how Menendez catches his dad, and you kind of get to see and experience all of it through David Mason's young eyes back when it happened in 1986, I believe. I think there's a lot of potential there, and that is something that really intrigued me about the reveal trailer. I think that we could dive so much deeper into it and see the reaction of David Mason throughout all of it, because if we go back to Black Ops 2, we really got to see the perspective mostly from Frank Woods, and then we got to see a little bit of the perspective of what was going on from David Mason, but it was kind of chopped up. It was all bits and pieces, and there was never a real deep dive into him because David Mason himself was trying to remember everything that happened. He was so traumatized that he couldn't really unlock the memories. But as an adult, 10 years later, having killed Menendez and having done all these other things, those memories are now unlocked. And maybe he accesses them, maybe he doesn't. But with the Cradle 2.0 in his system, of course that shit is going to come out. Of course it's going to be all over his head, and we're going to be able to explore it better than ever before. And I think with Black Ops 7 and the developers talking about wanting to explore the psyche of these characters, go deep into their minds and find all of these crazy weird things that might be going on inside the human mind. So at least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you like to explore that specific day, that specific time where David Mason was captured by Menendez, go deeper into it like you've never gone before, and find out maybe new details about Alex Mason in his final moments alive? I think that would be really, really cool, to be honest. And I hope we get to see something like that.